time with Mr. Oz. Make sure to take some notes. Maths time with Mr. Oz. Make sure to take some notes.
23rd for 7th grade. So what we're going to focus on first is the warm-ups. Janet reaches into the bag and selects a marble. She puts the marble back and she selects another. What is the probability that she selects a red and then a blue marble? So right here it should say she puts the marble back. All right, so what we have is a probability question. We know it's a probability question. One, it says keyword of probability. But we also need to know what are the odds. So what we have here is there's going to be two events. The first event, she's going to pick a marble, she's going to put it back, and then she is going to pick another marble. So first, let's see what the first event. On the first event, she is looking for red. So we need to find what is the probability that on the first event she picks a red marble. Well, how many reds do we have? We have red, 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 red. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reds out of 10 marbles. And then on the second one, so she takes it out, she puts it back, so there's still 10 marbles in there. On the second one, we need a blue marble. So in the second event, what's the probability she picks a blue marble? So there's 1 blue out of 10. Now what a lot of students might do is they might think that this says or. And if it says or, what we would do would be we would add the red and the blue, and we'd have 7 out of 10. And then we'd get 70%. But it doesn't say red or blue. What's happening here is we have two events. The probability of the first event happening, or her getting red, is 6 out of 10. The probability of the second event happening is 1 out of 10. So now we have to think back. How do we combine events? So event 1 has a 6 out of 10% chance, and then event 2 has a 1 out of 10. So the way we combine events is by multiplying them. So for multiplying fractions, all we have to do is multiply across. 6 times 1 is 6. 10 times 10 is 100. So the probability of these two events happening is 6 out of 100. So if she tries this 100 times, we can predict that it will happen about 6 times. So now we have to find that as a percent. So to turn a fraction into a percent, first we're going to turn it into a decimal. 6 divided by 100, and that's going to give us 0.06. And to turn this into a percent, we're going to move it over 1 over 2. So we would have 6%. And that's how we would complete number 1. So again, what we need to know is that this keyword "and" right here is telling us to multiply the events. And the way we multiply the events together is just to multiply the top, multiply the bottom. Number 2, the dimensions of a rectangular pyramid are shown. What is the volume in cubic inches? There's two things, and I keep saying this, there's two things we need to do on every volume problem, every time we see volume. Those two things are, we need to write whether it's a pyramid or a prism, and then we need to write what shape is the base. So what do we have here? A pyramid or a prism? Well, it tells us we have a pyramid. So I'm going to write pyramid, and I'm going to write the equation. Volume of a pyramid equals 1/3 base times height. And now the second thing I'm going to write, is the area of the base. And the shape of the base is, it's not a triangular pyramid, it's a rectangular pyramid. So rectangle. And I'm going to write how to find the area of that base. Area of your rectangle, length times width. And now I'm going to start with the area. So I'm just looking at the rectangle. I'm just looking at the base. So this 10 is actually talking about the part of the triangle that's going up. This 15 is definitely talking about the base, and this 12 is also talking about the base. So to find the base, we're going to do 12 times 15. And when we multiply this out, you guys need to make sure that y'all show the work by doing the box on here. But when we multiply it out, we're going to have 180 inches squared. Remember, area is always going to be in square units. When we do volume, it's going to be cubed. So what we know is that this A, this capital A, is actually the same as capital B. In other words, the area of the base, we're going to put where it has big B. So we can replace this over here. Volume equals 1/3, 180. And now we're talking about the pyramid. We're not talking about the height of the triangle. We're talking about the height of the whole pyramid. The height of the whole pyramid is 20. All right. So I'm going to stop here, but what I need you to do is I need you to multiply it out, and then you should be able to determine what is the correct answer from there. Number 3, 30% of the students in a class have brown hair. There are 60 kids in the class. How many students have brown hair? So this is a percent of problem. Percent of problem are multiplication. So we're going to take our original amount, our total amount of kids, 60, and multiply it by 30%. We can't multiply by a percent, so we need to turn it into a decimal. Just like we did earlier, we're going to go over 1 over 2. So it's going to be 60 times 0.30. And all you need to do is multiply that out. And that'll tell you how many kids have brown hair. Alright, so now we're going to go into today's lesson, and what we're going to be talking about is 7.12a, and we're comparing two groups of numeric data using dot plots, box plots, and we're comparing their shapes, centers, and spreads. Now, we did this last year, but it was kind of right before we left for the break. So before we can talk about creating the box plots, we need to know some basic data terminology. The first is mean. All right, and mean is another word for average. And then, so the way we're going to find the mean, how to find the mean. You will add up all the numbers and then divide by the amount of numbers. So for instance, say this person gets 100, 100, 100, 80, and a 50 on their test. To find the average, or to find the mean, we would add up 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 80 plus 50. So we'd have 350, 430, and divide it by the amount of numbers we added. So we added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would divide by 5. The mean, or the average, would be 430 divided by 5, which will give us 86. So his average score, or his mean score, would be an 86. Next, we're going to talk about mode. Mode is the number that is the most common, the one that shows up the most. So how many times does 100 show up? It shows up 1, 2, 3 times. All right. 80 shows up once, and 50 shows up once. So the mode would be 100 because it shows up the most amount of times. Next, we're going to find the median, or the middle. And to find the median, we need to put these numbers in order. So if they're going in order, it's going to be 50, 80, 100, 100, 100. And you guys might remember this from last year. We're going to cross off the lowest, cross off the highest, cross off the lowest, cross off the highest, and find the one in the middle. So the median would also be 100. Now I want to give y'all another example just to show y'all what it would look like if there's a different amount of numbers. We're going to add in a 0. So let's say you got 0, 50, 80, 100, 100, 100. In this case, we would cross off the lowest, cross off the highest, cross off the lowest, cross off the highest. But now we have 2 left in the middle. So if we have 2 left in the middle, what we have to do is we need to find the mean of those 2. Or in other words, we need to add them up and then divide by the amount of numbers we added. So if we're doing this, we're always going to add 2 numbers, the 2 that are left. So 80 plus 100 is 180 divided by 2 because we added up 2 numbers, and that would give us 90. So if we added another 0 in here, our median would actually be 90 now. Even though 90 is not a number on there, we would have 2 left, and we would need to find the median. So we need to find the average of the 2 that are left. And lastly, we have the range, which is the difference between the highest set of numbers, the highest and lowest. So in the original problem, we would have 100 minus 50. Our range would be 50. In this new problem, our highest is 100, our lowest is 0. So our range would be 100 minus 0 is 100. So that's essentially how we're going to solve this. Alright, so when we go back here, it's going to say that calculator usage is encouraged. Calculator usage is not encouraged for 7th grade because when you take the STAR test, you're not going to be able to use it. Alright, so I'm going to do a couple examples. First, we're going to want to find, I'm going to start with the mode, the easy one. Which number shows up the most amount of times? Well, 23 is going to show up, looks like 1 time. 87 shows up 1, 2 times. 19 shows up 1 time. 34 shows up 1 time. 37 shows up 1 time. 81 shows up 1 time, 14 1 time, 100 1 time, and 26 1 time. So the number that shows up the most is 87 because it shows up twice. And the thing that shows up the most common number, is the mode. So our mode would be 87. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the range. Alright, so I'm going to put them in order. So the lowest would be 5. And I'm going to go ahead and cross it out so I know I've used it. The next lowest would be 14 and then 19. So I'm crossing those out and putting them. After that, we would have 23, then 26. Then we would have 34, 37. Then we would have 87, 87 again, and 100. So I'm going to count how many numbers I wrote down to make sure that I got them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's saying there should be 10 numbers, so I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's telling me I missed one. So I'm going to go back and double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I want to look back at which one I didn't cross off. I know I used the 87s. I know I used 100, but what I missed was this 81 right here. So that's a way we can go back and double check and make sure that we get all of them. So I'm just going to slip 81 in there. So I'm going to find the range. My highest number is 100. My lowest number is 5. The difference between the two, 100 minus 5, my range is equal to 95. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the median since I have them in order. Lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest. Since I have an odd number, 11 total numbers, that means I am going to have exactly one in the middle. I should have, and this is how I double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. So I know 34 is exactly in the middle. So my median is equal to 34. And now I'm going to find the average. So the way I'm going to find the average is I'm going to add up all of these numbers. 5 plus 14 plus 19 plus 23 plus 26 plus 34 plus 37, 81, 87, 87, 100. So it should come out to 513. And then we need to divide by the amount of numbers that we added. So we added up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers. So we're going to take that 513 and divide it by 11. And we are going to get a mean of 46.63. So that's all we need to do. And you're going to do the same thing for number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. All right, so for 7, 8, 9, 10, it's going to give you an average, and you need to find what are they going to get on the last score, or what they need to get. So this is really helpful if, say, you know that you need an 80 to make your guardians happy on your report card, and you have a 77 so far. So you need to figure out, okay, what do I have to get on my next assignment to bring my average up to an 80? So this is how you can do this. So say these are the amount of assignments. Right now we only have 4 graded, but there's going to be a total of 1, 2, blank, which is 3, 4, 5 assignments. All right? So there's 5 assignments. And we know that the mean or the average has to be 7.8. So what we're going to do, if we're working backwards, we're going to take our mean and multiply it by the amount of assignments. So 7.8 times 5. And what that's going to give us is 39. So right now, we know that for these 5 assignments, we need to get a total of 39 points if we want to average a 7.8. So our next step is we're going to see how many points do we have right now. Right now we've earned 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 12 is 25, plus 3 is 28. So right now we've earned 28 points, but to average this out over 5 assignments, we need to get 39. So how many do we have to get left on this last one? We need to get 11 points on this last one for it to average out to 7.8. So again, if we got 11 here, we would add them all up. It would come out to 39. And then we would divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, 5 assignments, and it would come out to 7.8. So essentially we're just doing it backwards. Okay, we're going to do another example. So far we're just going to pretend we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assignments, but we know there's going to be a total of 6 assignments. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do number 9. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 assignments. So this one might be a little easier to conceptualize because, it's more like grades. So we have 8 assignments, and what we need to average is we need to average a 74.5, or else we won't get whatever new game Guardians promised us. So to find the total amount of points we need to get, we need to take what we need to average, 74.5, times the number of assignments. So 74.5 times 8. That's going to give us 596 total points. Now we're going to count how many total points we have. So right now we have 91 plus 77 plus 56 plus, we don't know yet, so we're leaving that at blank, plus 76 plus 61 plus 98 plus 89. That's going to give us 548 points. That we've earned so far. So we need to find out what we need to get on our last one, and we're just going to subtract. So that's going to leave us with 596 minus 548. It's going to leave us with 48 points left to get. So that means we need to get 48 points on this last assignment. So if you look, most of their scores, this person's scores are really good. So they got a 91, they got another 98, an 89, a 76, a 77. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scores that are pretty far above their goal. They only have 2 scores that are below that. So they can actually afford to get a relatively low grade and it won't bring it down that much. But let's say they wanted to shoot for an 80. So we would take our 8 assignments times our goal, 80, and we would get 640 total points that we need. So we've already figured out he's earned 548 so far. So if his goal was to get an 80, he would need to get 92. Whoops. Need to get 92 points left on that last test to get an average of an 80. So if he wanted to shoot for a 74, he wouldn't have to do that much. But if he wanted to shoot for an 80, he would have to get a 92, which he's definitely capable of because he's got 91, he's got a 98, he's got an 89, so he could definitely do it. All right? So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and solve problems 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10.